Yeah, it's going.
Yeah.
Good evening. It is nice to see you here this evening. My name is Sharon Hamley, and I am the pastor here at the new Florence Methodist Church. And I just wanted to welcome all of you and thank you for coming out to hear from a few of the candidates who will be running for school board this year. A few housekeeping items for you. The most important, there's coffee and water in the back. And bathrooms are downstairs. And if you are in need of a lift, we have a lift just finished. And so I'll be in the back wandering around. So just stand by the door and I'll take you downstairs if you need to go downstairs. I also wanted to thank the candidates who have agreed to join us this evening. And while the church does not endorse any party or candidate, and I as a pastor cannot endorse any party or candidate, I am interested to hear what each candidate stands for on the various issues that surround our children. Our kids have kind of been growing up in a crazy and interesting times. And if you are like me, you want a solid school board who can help our kids get the best education possible in normal times, but also in the crazy times. I want the kids of the new Florence town and the kids of our school district to have the best education possible so that they can become adults who will change our town and who will change our world for the better. And in order to achieve that goal, there needs to be a solid school board. And so I look forward to hearing about the plans that each of you have for our children if you happen to find yourself on our school board. And so with that, I'll turn everything over to you.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you for having us. My name is Alex Rainey. I just wanted to apologize for all the viewers at home that tried to watch last week's live stream, and with some audio difficulties, we got it situated again this time, so we should be good to go. I just have a couple of announcements. This Monday, May 1st at 6:30 at the Ligonier VFW, there will be a Ligonier Borough and Township Town Hall. And then Friday, May 5th, at the Ligonier Municipal Building in Oak Grove at 6:30, there will be a meet and greet with Mark Hamilton. So I graduated in 2012. It's kind of funny because our senior, motto you could say was last class ever because the Mayan calendar ended in 2012 and it was kind of a play on words at the time. But coincidentally enough, 2013, I think, was the last award that Ligonier Valley School District had received. And I mean, it's blatantly evident that it's just been going downhill ever since. It's really unfortunate. I'm honored to be here and to meet such wonderful people as well, who have interests in the school board, who have children in the schools, and just want to see the school be a better place. So it kind of pains me to say, but in 2012, just looking back and reflecting on all of it, half of my friends are dead from high school, half of them. I'm not sure what the statistic is, I'm not sure, but I was just reflecting on it, and it's really a shame. And then you hear about vaping, you hear about kids doing all these illicit drugs and getting into trouble and doing all these things that they shouldn't be doing. And then we see our educational standards going down, we see the mental health going down, and we see their overall health going down as well. Didn't mean to get all nitty-gritty on you for a moment, but trying to keep in light spirits here. But here we are with 6 candidates who have agreed to speak to you guys, the public, and the voters, and parents, and teachers, to give you a better perspective of what they intend to do, who they are, and what they represent. So, without further ado, I will introduce each candidate just by name, and they will give a brief introduction of who they are. First, we have Gary Steffi.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for coming out tonight. I spent 37 years on the railroad, so I had to talk to Sharon about the very first thing I noticed when I came into church. railroad spikes. I just thought that was kind of fun. Anyhow, I've been in the local area since 1975. Married a lady I met in the military who's from the area, and there's quite a few of them around. Oh, I thought we had to stand down. Stay in the camera. Okay. Anyhow, so I put 37 years on the railroad. Before that, I was 6 years in the military, 4 years active, 2 years inactive reserves. And but I've been here since, like I say, 1975. We've had 4 kids that's gone through the school system, and we have 12 grandkids, 7 of which are involved in the school system. One has graduated and gone to Grove City. The other one is a senior this year, and the other 5 are still in. So people ask me why I'm involved with this. Simple, lots of grandkids. The other 5 I have are in dairy, so they're all close. So we have a lot of things that we would like to accomplish, but mostly there's just a couple of things that I really am emphatic about and really believe in, and then I can go ahead and take pretty much ditto for most of the rest of them. But for me, I mean, I believe in a lot of what they're all saying. But a couple of things is I want to get the parents more involved. I've been going to the school board meetings for the last 2.5 years, not all of them, but most. And before that, I went to some every now and then. And most of the parents don't come. But so we would like to open that up and make sure. I would like to open that up and make sure that we get more and more people involved with that. The second thing I would like to say is that I would just want the teachers to be able to teach their subject. There's a lot in, have some standards and set the standards and let the teachers teach. That's pretty much what I have to say. So.
Thank you, Gary. All right. Next, we have Robert Fryman.
Hello, thank you for coming out again. In terms of my background, I have a combined total of over nearly 40 years of teaching, both at the university level and the public school level. I started out teaching in the universities, and then I had the opportunity to switch into teaching in the public schools, which I'm very glad I did, because one of the reasons why I wanted to make that switch was that during the 20 years I taught in the university, one of the things I noticed was a steady decline in students' ability to read, students' ability to do analytical thinking and reasoning, to basically do research. And so I wanted to try and come down to the public schools to find out what is happening. How can I help? How can I make a difference? Those last 20 years I spent before I retired in the public schools were the best teaching years of my life, because there I got to really work with students and to understand the problems that they were faced with, and also to understand the frustrations that the teachers felt. You've got good teachers, but in many cases, as Mr. Steffi said, they're not being allowed to teach in many ways. And so my whole goal, if you elect me, is to start making changes that allow our teachers to teach, that strengthen our curriculum, that bring in the people, the public. You are the people who go to the schools. Your voices need to be heard. Not just heard, but you need to be listened to. And that's the one thing I believe very strongly in, is that if you speak to me, I just don't want to hear sounds coming out of your mouth. I want to listen to you. I want to understand you. Because that way is where we start to develop a sense of trust. And that's the key element right here. And you'll get to hear other opinions tonight if you look on Ligonier Unpolished. I've been putting up videos on certain issues. I'll be putting up several more as well, so you can get more of a feel for who I am. So I'm hoping that you'll listen and that what I say tonight may strike a chord with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have Joe Bella.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. We really appreciate it, and everybody that's watching online. Like I said, I'm Joe Bella. I've been a part of the Ligonier Valley for 43 years. I write software for a living. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I served on the awesome experience of serving on the YMCA board in Ligonier, Fort Ligonier board, and a couple of terms in session at my church. So I enjoy those kinds of roles and be able to work with the community and work with organizations. My wife and I have 3 children. My oldest went through the high school, Whittier High School. My middle son is in 10th grade right now, and my daughter is at Val, and there's a reason. But she is transferring to Ligonier in 2 years. So my son has 2 years to go, and my daughter will be there in 2 years, and there's a lot of work to do in that school system. Some of our experiences with the school system, given that the 2 boys we adopted from the foster system came with needs that were different, and we had a lot of interactions with the school district, a lot of interactions with the administration, and it's been a challenge. And the board, forget it. They just the board has been. I think it's hard to describe why this board has been like this in Ligonier, in that they just don't seem to want to hear anything from parents, from the community at all. It's like they're trying to protect something, or I don't know. And then at the same time, they're not holding the administration accountable. So it's like this kind of cabal that we need to crack open. And I think the biggest thing there is transparency. I think everything starts with transparency. Once we can crack things open, and we can as a board open ourselves up to the community, unlike what they're doing. And the 5 candidates or 4 candidates, whatever it is, they're running for re-election to continue to do what they're doing. But then also turn around and hold this administration accountable. And I agree with the teachers playing a much bigger role in all of that, actually. So that's the big thing on my mind, is when a parent comes into that either school board meeting or into the school, that the herd and something actually get done, and that's important. And I went to school board meeting not that long ago, and we hear all of these things that are going on in our school district, all of the problems. And I go to the school board meeting and nobody's there. And I asked them, I said, well, why isn't anybody here? And I said, well, nobody listens to them, so nobody comes to school board meeting. So nothing's going to change ever until that's changed. And that's a big priority of mine.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we have Maureen Iddig.
Hi, so I'm Maureen Iddig, and I was joking with somebody earlier. It's ITTIG Iddig. I'm the only one in Pennsylvania, very easy to find in general. And I have 3 children. We moved to Ligonier, to the district, in 2012 when my husband got his dream job in the area. And all 3 of my children were born here. My oldest is 9, he goes to Ark Mellon. My daughter, my only daughter, is in 1st grade at Ark Mellon. And I also have a 2-year-old who goes to baby school at the YMCA in Ligonier. And I also, my background is that I have a PhD in Human Development and Family Studies from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I've been an educator for over 20 years. Currently, I'm a senior extension educator in the area of family well-being. So for that, I am running around. I cover Indiana, Altoona, all the way down through Allegheny and Greene County, offering parenting workshops, evidence-based programs, things that have to do with mental health, how to deal with home finances, a whole wide range of things. But prior to that, I was a professor. And so I love being an educator. I really love being a parent, and I'm also fairly service-oriented. And so I've always been someone who likes to volunteer, who likes being involved in things in the community that I care about. And so for me, currently, I don't have any babies and I don't have any teenagers yet. And so this was an opportunity for me to try to seek a way to serve my community. So I'm so glad to see you all.
Thank you, Maureen. Next, we have John Kenyon.
Hello. I am a retired Air Force officer. I served for a little over 30 years. 10 of those years were flying as a B-52 bombardier and then also as a C-130 navigator. And then I became a chaplain. So we are the same. And ended up, 10 on the flying side of the house and 20 on the other. My bachelor's was in elementary education. Did I use it? Well, sometimes in the military, You seem like you are doing that. But I am married, been married for 30 years, and I have 5 children. My youngest, we kind of do a hybrid. We do some homeschooling, some online, and then she also goes to the EWCTC. And in fact, they had a fire today, but we won't talk about that. But it's, those are some of the things that we retired in 2016 and came back to the area. One of the things that I think that for me, in this is that being in the military, you learn that mission, the mission is what it's all about, and being focused on that. And the bottom line is we need to educate our kids, and sometimes we can allow Mission Creek to come in. And what Mission Creek means is getting off those 3 R's and starting to put a lot of other stuff in there. So one of the things for me would be to bring back the 3 R's.
Thank you, John. Next, we have Matt Kaufman.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys tonight. Like you were saying, my name is Matt Kaufman. I graduated from Commonwealth Township High School, just over the mountain, on the other side of the world over there. That's actually where I met my wife. I am married. I do have 2 kids. I have 1 kid in middle school here in Ligonier, and I have 1 kid at Valley School. After I graduated high school, I joined the military, did a couple things with that, did see some combat. Once I left there, I just really wanted to pay for college. Couldn't afford it any other way, so I joined the military and paid for it. Went to IUP, got a degree in criminology and minored in geography and cartography. After that, I got a job in the law enforcement career that I'm in now. And I've been serving the community here since about 2013. So thank you guys for coming out. Can't wait to get into some of these questions. Can't wait to see some of the questions you guys have for us. Appreciate it.
Beautiful, thank you. So last time we had 3 different questions, and the candidates had their opportunity to answer them for you. Tonight's topics of discussion are more focused around children and education rather than budget, and we might get into a couple budget questions. So the candidates were given 2 questions ahead of time and had time to prepare. But I will also be asking either 1 or 2 questions, and if there's time allotted, we might ask from the audience here. So the first question that is asked is, in your opinion, should our district be doing anything different to better support the whole child in social and emotional learning? I give you Gary.
I get to go first.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not exactly sure what they mean by emotional social learning. I'm sure someone else can figure that out. But I kind of think that we let the teachers teach their subject and set standards and help them get ahead and do the right things, that will be okay with all the other stuff. I kind of look back at the days, when you have kids that in school, which most of you either have kids in school or grandkids in school, and when they come home with good reports, well, let me put it this way. They come home with A's and they come home with some lower grades. Which one do you put on the fridge?
Thank you, Gary. Next is Robert Fryman.
This question really hits at what I think is one of the major problems or challenges, let's put it this way, with the educational system. When we look at our test scores, we see them going down. We see the stress levels of our children going up. And over the years, I've come to the firm conclusion that the reason why we are having so many difficulties with school and students learning is the fact that the educational system, as it is structured, it has robbed the children of their childhood. It has also operated on the system of the idea that more is better. Not necessarily true. When you think about this, think of their daily routine. They come into the school, they're shepherded off to homeroom, and then the rest of their day is highly regulated. You're going to a schedule, one schedule after another, no downtime, absolutely no decompression time for those students. Now think about how important that is for you. When you are out there on the job, you need time to decompress, to think of things. And the idea that when there's so much for them to learn out there, they need to have more time in the classroom is nonsense. What's happening is their children are being inundated with noise. They're getting so much information they cannot process it. This is part of the reason why we're seeing test scores go down. Studies have shown that the ideal education for students is 40 minutes of instruction and 20 minutes in the classroom allowed for them to apply it, to think it through. The rest of the time, if you're just pushing more and more, you're reducing education to nothing more than drive-by education. You're hoping a few of those bullets of fact will hit the students and stay with them. Now, looking at this, I had the opportunity to live in Germany several years ago, or actually much more than several years ago. But the thing that I was really impressed with looking at the German school system. The German school system operates on a 6-hour day. The students are in there 6 hours a day. We're in our schools, actually at Ligonier Valley High School, you are in there for 7.5 hours. Now, when you look at that, during that time period that they are in the German schools, they have the same number of classes, but they have something that is so important, and that is what they call the short and the long pause. We used to call recess. Now, I want you to think about how important that is. You look forward to that time to get out there, away from the classroom, to socialize, to decompress. And then you went back into the classroom, and you were able to go and effectively learn. The educational system has robbed our children of that ability. And even when they get home at night, think about this. How many students are said, okay, you've got to go to soccer practice, or you have to go to this practice, or that practice. They are more regimented in their daily lives than you are at work. So do they go and try to make up their decompression time? You bet it. I have 20 years of experience with that. It's called off-task behavior in the classroom. They find ways to get out of work. That's why you have so many, I need to go to the bathroom. We just went there 10 minutes ago. Or I need to go to the water, go get a drink of water. They're finding ways to get out. They need that decompression time. When I looked at the Georgia, okay, I'm getting the red box here. All right. I've got the mic. Come rest with me. Okay. Okay, but let me just say one thing. Now, looking at the way that the Pennsylvania school system is set up, so the state regulates how many hours they have to spend in terms of instruction, but the length of the day and the scheduling is up to the individual school district. We have the opportunity to give back to our children their childhood. That ability to have decompression time, to work with one another, by building into the daily routine a recess, maybe one or two. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have Joe Vella.
Are you done? I'm sure you can.
I yield my time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it said the pace is so fast in the schools, public schools, because having a child at Valley and then having children gone through the public school system, you can see how different it is. Valley, they have 2 recesses a day, for example. But the public school seems to be just this mad-paced assembly line of just pushing kids through. They'll accept any work that they get turn in. I lose my mind when I see some of the stuff that my son turns in. I make him rewrite it. The teachers will take it. And just crank them through, come in one end, go out the other like an assembly line. And then just as long as they pass the standards test, that's all anybody, it's just plowing through. So nobody's looking at the emotional well-being of these kids. They may be noticing it, nobody, I think, can take the time to consider it. That, in fact, we probably don't have enough resources in school to deal with it. But when we look at the news and some of these incidences that occurred, these horrific incidences, they're usually kids have been out of high school for a couple of years. That they had to have shown some of these signs, and nobody's paying attention to them. I'm an assistant coach for the golf team, the high school golf team here in Ligonier, and most of the kids are good. We've got one kid on that team, and had a similar background as my kids, so I kind of recognize it. I mean, I feel for him. He's been through the ringer, but he's got major issues, and it just is push along. So I think if you're driving at that in terms of well-being, psychological well-being, and the whole child, I do think in this day and age in particular, we do need to slow down a little bit, and we need to pay a little more attention of the moods of these kids and what they're dealing with and what they're going through. Because when nobody does that, when that's not checked or not caught at some point, somewhere along the line, some of them are just, popping. And also, you can't learn when you're struggling with a lot of stuff. I've dealt with that for a long time with my children that we talk about. Until you get them to a good place, they're not going to learn. In fact, when you set up their IEPs, education is secondary. Attachment and a lot of other issues are primary. So I think there is a lot more that we can do. We have one psychiatrist in the whole district, Rachel, and she's great. We've worked with her for years, but I think we could do a lot more. I think there could be more resources. We certainly have no budget for it. Right? We pay a lot more per student, we pay more per student linear than we do at Valley, and the difference of what's coming out is dramatic. So there's money there. Again, transparency, we can see what's going on with it, some accountability, some priorities other than just pushing kids in one side out the other, then we can deal with some of these issues.
Thank you, Joe. Next is Maureen.
So if you tried to watch us last time, or you happen to have been there, we had time limits. Last time we had a 1 minute time limit, and this time we got 3 minutes, but I could still talk at length. So because I'm so chatty, typed up my remarks in hopes that I don't get the red box from Cindy. So I hope you bear with me while I read through what I put up. Oh, thank you so much. And my second answer, sure. So for me, I was really interested in this question, and to me, this sounds like a question from an educator or a well-informed parent. Whole child learning is a buzzword in education. I'm going to share a bit about what I know about this area and highlight 3 areas I would like to see change related to school-community partnerships, career development, and support for teachers. Whole child learning usually refers to prioritizing the following 5 areas when planning one's approach to education. The first one is child health, through recess, physical education, healthy nutrition, and social emotional health. The second is safety, and that includes not just physical safety, but emotional and social dimensions within the school. The third is that kids are engaged, that they have ways to monitor their own goals and gains, as well as opportunities for group collaboration. The fourth is that kids are supported, that their families are actively involved as supportive team members and advocates, and school is personalized so that children receive individual attention and supports. And kids are challenged to think about the world and themselves, and that they have both school goals and individual goals. So to nurture these, schools should be healthy and caring spaces that create a climate of support for children to reach these goals, while also creating a challenging and dynamic learning environment. Social and emotional learning is critical for developing this. And there's an agency, it's called CASTLE. It's the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, and it's a national leader in this area. They define social emotional learning, or SEL, as the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge and skills and attitudes to develop healthy identities and manage emotions and achieve personal and collective goals, feel empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationship, and make responsible and caring choices. And SEL tends to focus on things like self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. So it also includes responsible decision-making, not just in school, but in the world. So this is a well-researched area. For example, there was something called a meta-analysis of 213 studies that showed that students that participated in evidence-based SEL programs were not only had higher academic performance, but they had improved classroom behavior, and they were better able to manage stress and depression, and have better attitudes about themselves and other people and school. So it is something that in 2019, the National Commission on Social, Emotional, and Academic Development released a report that declared children learn best when we treat them as human beings with social and emotional as well as academic needs. Well, that makes sense, right? We all know that. Some go so far as to point out that in classrooms and in the workforce, it isn't the most intelligent who are the most successful, but those who can manage their anxiety, their anger, have meaningful conversations and connections, who can collaborate and problem solve, who have leadership skills, and all of that is tied to SEL. We've probably all had coworkers or bosses that were well qualified for their job, but were bullies, or lacked social skills, or micromanaged. With the rate of job hopping and field changes these days, skills for a successful professional life go well beyond skills and certificate geared towards one particular career track. Yet children aren't always taught or modeled these skills. So one thing I support is school and community partnerships that play a role in developing SEL skills and abilities that create rich opportunities for students, not just when they are in school, but beyond in post-secondary education. Things like work-based learning, apprenticeships, and internships that are integrated with SEL can help engage students in the world of work and in their career. I'm getting a box. So something else besides thinking about, like we had a career fair recently at the middle school, which I think is a good example of this kind of opportunity. Something else I would encourage is thinking about using evidence-based programs. So in the elementary school and the high school, for example, there was a program that was used based on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. It is related to SEL, but it doesn't have much evidence that it works. But there are ones with a lot of evidence and state funding to support, like one called Paths, that has been highly successful in lots of schools, including in Pennsylvania. And the last is that I'd be in favor of more teacher support in this area. We all know that high rates of teacher burnout, that scarcity of teachers coming up through the fields. And so teachers who teach in environments that promote social emotional learning tend to, they themselves have better support, better social emotional skills, better connections, and often report lower stress. So these are 3 areas related to this question that would be of interest to me and things that I would like to see more of in our district.
Thank you, Maureen. Next we have John.
How do you follow that? One of the things that I would say, when we look at the whole child, and it would seem to me that right now, at this moment, if we were to look at where we are, this is an important thing, of course, but I think we need to be careful that we're not trying to do too much. That we can sit here and look at the issues that are before us, correct things that need to be corrected, and then we can also do these things as well. One of the things that is, as you can see, that that's not something, this would be something that I know others would have a much better handle on. My position would be those individuals, getting them, bringing them in, a team effort. We talk this through, we see what is the best, what works, and we make it happen. Again, mission, what's the mission? Let's get the mission done. And I didn't get the red box.
Thank you, John. Next we have Matt.
So guys, I attack this from pure observation, things I see with my children. I support a lot of those things, but I some topic points that you guys talked about. One of the things I heard was meaningful conversations. Where does that happen in the school right now? I would love to see more freedom like I used to have. They're rushing between lockers, between classes. They have like 2 minutes. They can't talk. There is no recess in the middle school anymore, which, like they said, needs to be addressed. Thankfully, from teachers, they started including more gym time. So there is middle school now where they have gym time a lot more. They're just doing it quarters. So these kids, you're taking them, you're shoving them into school, and you're not letting them have any social interactions. They don't have it. Even at lunchtimes, everything's so slammed together, they don't have the time to sit down. Now I'm going to throw another curveball into this. At lunchtime, at pep rallies, in study halls, they're given free range of their iPads. In today's age, if you get an iPad in your hands, what are you going to do as a kid? You're going to play video games on it. That's what they're doing. Instead of socializing, instead of being kids, instead of doing normal things we all did, playing baseball, kickball, it doesn't matter what the sport is. You're on an iPad. Why? If someone can please explain to me why they have an iPad for a pep rally, I would love to see it. You just talked about some ramifications psychologically. Here's another thing psychologically that I really want, I've been asking for someone to answer this. Kids have to use their iPads to go to the restroom, okay? What are we psychologically telling them that their iPad is so important they have to use it to go to the bathroom? All right, you're not gonna make sense out of it. That's one of the reasons I'm running here. That just can't happen. So some of these other things in depth we can work that, but these are mindless little things. These are simple fixes that we can start working through. We need to develop more in-person social skills in more group projects. I don't know if you guys went through school, but we had different small groups and large group projects. We had public speaking classes. We had different things that would prep us for going out there in the world. I don't see that here. I don't see it at all. Let's see here, we got some other things. The recesses, I am 100% in agreement with some of the other guys. They need short breaks. They don't have to be long, but there needs to be some. A state standard is at an 8-hour workday, you get 2 15-minute breaks somewhere in there, okay? Just 15 nice minutes to go to yourself, whatever it is. We need to have it. We need to have recess in middle school. You got a 7th grader. I mean, come on, they're little kids. They've got to get some energy out. That's more important. Some of the things I learned in school, I'm not going to say they're more important than math or some of the other contexts that I need, but some of the social things that I learned in school, I use every day, day to day on my job. Whether I'm dealing with a bully or whether I'm dealing with someone who, has a bad background. Okay, you got to know how to socialize. It's a very important skill that these kids just don't have. Some other things that need to happen, we need to do some better extracurricular activities. My kid just aged out of LVSD baseball, and now there's nothing for him. He can try out for Legion with such a big thing. He's kind of left me in. We need a middle school baseball team. We need they were talking about it, we need more family support. We need more extracurricular activities. The dances that they've been having, that they brought back, they seem to be going over pretty well. It gives them something to go, something to socialize, something to look forward to. So when you guys are looking at the social immersion learning, it's just not present in here. And it's not going to cost very much. So when I'm looking at it, I'm looking from the student base, what I'm seeing here locally. I could partner with some of the other people. We can look at studies, and we can do that to how to apply it, how to best apply it based on the time we have. But thank you, guys.
Thank you, Matt. So our second question, first we will start with Maureen, and then we will go the same order and then circle back to Gary. What is your top priority if elected, and how do you plan to accomplish that?
So this answer is much shorter. So one of the challenges with being on the school board is that you are working as a collective. So any one of us are limited in which we individually can promise, since you need to have a majority on the board to try to approve things and move things forward. If you haven't encountered me before, you're just looking for the first time tonight, you can pick up one of my little pamphlets in the back that talks a little bit more about my priorities, or you can find it on Facebook if you're watching from home. But my 5 priorities for my campaign are excellence in education and trying to develop more flourishing friendships. This relates to we want to have these positive connections between children, inclusive and individualized education, learning beyond walls, which includes things like recess and outdoor learning opportunities and service opportunities that we've just been talking about. These are all things that are priorities for me. They're things I care about. They're things I have some knowledge about as well. My 5th one is probably I would say for this question, my top priority, because it's the one that should I be asked to serve on the school board, I have the most influence over. So number 5 is that I promise to have a local focus. There's so much political animosity out there right now that has no place on any school board. I promise to be focused on real issues that are in our district that affect our children, and not issues that are in the news or things that are taking place far afield. And so for me, this is something that I can promise because it involves my own conduct, my own values, and that will continue to be a priority for me should I serve on the board.
Thank you, Maureen. I changed my mind. I'm sorry. We'll give it to Joe. My apologies. Keeping it spontaneous.
Joe's better looking at
Yeah, so I think we've got this, again, I kind of describe this as a box in the middle. The current board, including candidates, are running to continue what they're doing. And the administration is kind of this black box, and the teachers don't seem to have any influence on it. The community certainly doesn't have any influence on it because they put up this big wall. So that's where I would start, is to kind of open things up from both directions. Let the community into the school, through the board, the board being accountable to the community driving what we're doing. And to do that, you have to actually listen to the community, so that would be step one. Also opening up transparency with technology. I write software for a living. If you go to voteligonier.com, you'll see at least the five of us, our profiles, your ability to submit questions, in fact, submit questions anonymously, which I put there specifically, so I'm helping teachers, students, parents that don't, that they have concerns. It's a mechanism for them to voice them, at least to us as candidates. I'd like to carry that over to the school board itself, to open things up to the community. And then from the other direction is from the teachers. I think we don't know what's in the curriculum at Ligonier Valley School District because the administration won't share it, and the board is allowing them to do that. Cindy Brown's been on the board, been a school board director for 18 months, been trying to get a hold of our curriculum, hasn't been able to do it. What are they hiding? I think they're hiding the fact it's awful. To be honest with you, I think that's what they're hiding. Other people might think they're hiding some other stuff. I think that's the biggest problem. And I feel like the curriculum should be, the teacher should be a part of the selection process of the curriculum. And I go as far as to say the teachers should be a part of the approval of that curriculum, as well as be part of how that curriculum is going to be implemented. And a part of that's the pace that we were talking about from the previous question. The pace, every special interest on the planet's got their little slice of curriculums now, and it's like a million checkboxes that have to be done, checked off throughout the year, and they're just pushing these kids through as fast as they can to make sure they're checking all these boxes. Also, I think there's a lot we can learn from Valley and other schools like Valley. Now, the problems and the spectrum that a public school district deals with is much broader. I get that. But Valley has 2 recesses. They have iPads. They're not a problem because they're used in a very measured way. There is more of the social time. And I would love to get, or maybe even have a community event where teachers from Ligonier and Valley can get together and talk and as a board and ideally as an administration, learn from what schools that are having success in our area for less money. What can we bring into the district from some of that possibility too? So again, just breaking open this cabal. I finally got a red box. I haven't been able to get one yet. All right. Transparency, accountability, and action. Those are the 3 things.
Thank you, Joe.
Go this way or that way?
Robert. Next, we have Robert.
I'll probably get a red box in. This was an interesting question as well, taking a look at what is the top thing I would address. I support the idea of reviewing the curriculum, making changes that will benefit the students, bringing teachers into the problem, or not the problem, but into the process itself, because the students and the teachers are very important, and also the community. But before we can make any changes, we're faced with a really big issue that has to be addressed, and that is the issue of trust. The community does not trust us. The teachers do not trust us. I'm thinking of this, the community kind of reminds me of a Mark Twain quote, and Cindy, I'm not trying to insult you. Mark Twain said, God first made idiots. That was for practice. Then he made school boards. So, looking at this, now, saying, what's going on here? The thing is, the community looks at the school board as ineffective, as a group of idiots. They're not doing anything. We've got to rebuild that trust. We have to open avenues of free expression to the public. And not just say, we're here, but we need to be actively going out and soliciting from them their opinions. The graduates at 4-year intervals, to find out what we did right, what we did wrong. Then we can go and actually make changes. There's a lot of good in Ligonier Valley High School, or the school district. You've got a wonderful school student to teacher ratio. 1 to 15 is ideal. You've got the money. But now we have to, the big issue is getting the people to trust us, getting the teachers to trust the school board, getting the families, the community to trust us. And then we can get them, as my colleague said, the community to invest in the schools, to open up extracurricular activity for the children, to open up our curriculum so that we can have time for them. Am I getting a red box now? Okay. Oh, they're talking about me, okay. I'm getting red ears. All right, now, anyways, but that's how we can actually, that's the big priority for me. That the incoming school board, if they really do want to effectively make changes for our children, make effective changes in the school district, they've got to build trust. If without that, you can have the most wonderful ideas, but unless the people trust you, they're not going to follow you. And I didn't get the red box.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have Gary.
Well, all these questions kind of relate to each other. I think the fact that we can get the parents more interactive with each other, with all the school board and everybody, set up venues for you guys to talk to us, and you guys all have different ideas too. We're just hoping to be elected to represent you guys. So, or as I say down in Kentucky, y'all. But anyhow, I think one of the things that's important is that we listen. And then I had a friend of mine say to me the other day, kind of alluding to what Maureen was talking about politics and stuff. He said, you can't put special interests in front of our education of our kids. You can't put special interest in front of the Constitution, and you can't put special interest in front of God.
Thank you. Next, we have Matt.
All right, guys. So if you go on to voteligonier.com, you're going to find out that I don't have like a real big platform and everything like that. Mine's going to constantly change as I'm going through this. So these top priorities are what I'm seeing today, but I did not join this board for my values and what I wanted to do. I joined this to try to help. And to me, that's why a lot of ways boards in general fail. It's impossible for a board member to have a lot of knowledge on all these different schools and stay real time doing it myself, okay? I've never been to the high school as far as in class like these students have, like these teachers have. So I need to value the communication. So the first priority we need to do is communication. Joe created a system, it works already, that people can remain anonymous to post stuff and then get it to us. This putting stuff on Facebook and having everything blow up and misinformation is not effective communication, okay? Submitting it in writing to a school board member and having a majority of people, like Maureen had said earlier, look at it, vote on it, and apply it is what we need. So we gotta create better communication. There is none right now. Go to school board meetings, I talked about different things and no response. It's not acceptable, it's disrespectful, I didn't go back. They just sat there. Another thing that I'm hearing drastically is the schools don't have enough resources. They need more resources. They need more textbooks, math intervention, science stuff, etc. I constantly see different kids being taught to the test in Ligonier, but I have different teachers that I see that I really respect that want to go over and above, and they have to buy this stuff out of their own pocket. Most teachers that I've been talking to keep a budget of $1,000, $2,000 out of their own money to invest. It's not good. The school should be providing more as far as resources to better an education and we're taking it home with them. The last thing is, I've been seeing a lot of kids, it seems like in this post-COVID age, there's a big gap. We have some that are just really far ahead and we have some that are really far behind. Today's standard is the ones that are far behind, that's acceptable and that's okay. They'll just learn at their own, I forget what the terminology, but they'll learn at their own speed. That works to a degree, but what if I'm not self-motivated? What if I'm having issues at home? There's no way to intervene, there's no way to help that person. So this learning your own speed just doesn't fully work. It has some concepts, but something we need to bring back is some homework. If these kids are behind, they need to be provided with resources and stuff to help catch them up so we have a more middle ground. So we don't have this huge diverse thing. I had talked to someone earlier about different homework and as far as the research behind it. And I see there's a lot of good research behind homework, being self-motivated, being self-aware, practicing good organization, study habits, etc., that they're going to need in college. In college, when they do get there, no one's going to hold their hand. So we got to kind of help them. They got to study. They can't, I don't know the information. I'll pass an exam later on when I do know it. That's not how it works. That's not how it works when you get out of here. So I don't understand why it works here. So those are some of the things I have today, but as I continue to go, my hope is to continue picking up more information, asking questions, and kind of getting a better understanding. I have no idea truly what all school board does. There's a lot of different hats you have to wear with budget to everything else. I think we have a good team here to look at things from a variety of different lights, with technology to 40 years of school experience to try to help that situation. So that's what I'll leave it with.
Thank you, Matt. Next we have John.
Last and least, one of the things that I think is critical is that the Ligonier Valley School District needs to be accountable. This begins first with me. And if I'm elected, then what I intend to do is to develop what I would say kind of a town hall gathering in different locations in the district where I can engage with all the stockholders to build trust and empower them in the process. Maybe I'll have pizza as well, but that was a joke. If it worked. But I think also in this that I am committing myself to build and expand the network, so to speak. Who are the stakeholders in this? Parents, teachers, students. It's interesting because one of the things that I've been told is leave it to the experts. But I can tell you this, as somebody who has served at a fairly high level in the military, that you get everybody's voice into it. And oftentimes it is that lowest ranking non-expert that has the solution to the problem. And so what we need to do is build a team of everybody, not just the experts.
So we are slightly pressed for time, but I think we will do a minute speed round for one of the questions from the public. And I'll keep it a little bit light this time. So I would like to emulate, if you were to go to a school board meeting and you were to see any one of these people on school board there on the stage at the high school, that you could comfortably get up, ask a question, and then respond. That is how it should work. So I'd like to emulate that. They have not received any question, but it won't be, well, they're all looking at me like a little bit nervous, as they should be, huh? But so I would like to keep it on a positive note. What has the school district done well in the last 5 years? And 1 minute, please. We will start with John.
I have to start.
Volunteer, he raised his hand.
Since I was last, not first. I would say to you in 1 minute is the EWCTC. My daughter's involved in that. Ligonier Valley is a part of that, Derry, and there's a couple other ones that are part, and that's outstanding. Enough said.
Thank you, John.
You go last.
We're gonna use a minute.
I echo that. My son's there, does welding and absolutely loves it. It is a fantastic program over there. And the folks there, the administration over there are very responsive, actually. They talk to you, which is nice. Having special needs kids in the district, I have to admit that, not the board, I had a lot of problems with the board, But the administration, the parts of the administration to deal with that, I was able to get a lot of money in, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think that is something that we do pretty well, or at least in my experience, the district has done pretty well in terms of the flexibility that you need, because kids with those issues, a lot of what you were talking about, they are not capable of doing some of the points you were talking about in your piece. And so you just need a lot of flexibility. So I give them kudos at least for that.
Thank you, Jeff.
I think I sort of cheated there. I did throw it on Joe, so I could think about it a little bit longer. I'm transparent. So for me, I thought it was interesting to think about for 5 years. So my oldest son is 9, and so he started kindergarten at RKM in 2018. And so I'm thinking about what our experience has been as a family over the last 5 years, and sort of this, how it started. Then there's COVID, pandemic, crisis learning that was thrown in there, had baby in there. Some of the things I have, from my personal standpoint, I have appreciated the dedication of the teachers, that so many of them have stayed through a very challenging time, through unexpected circumstances, because they love the community. So many of the teachers here, unlike other districts that I'm familiar with, where people might move from district to district for salary, for other reasons, so many of the teachers that I've gotten to know here, they grew up here, their own children went through the school or in the school, they walked the halls themselves. And so regardless of the challenges of this period of time that we've all gone through in this 5-year window, I have appreciated that within our schools, within our district, that so many teachers have stayed passionate about their work, stayed caring, even in the face of great challenge.
Thank you, Maureen.
Question was, what have they done well? Is that
Yes, in the last 5 years.
Well, what they've done well is raising a lot of grant money.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, there's no transparency to where that money is being spent on. There's no accountability for what that money is spent on.
Keep it moving.
All right. So in the past 5 years, Ligonier has been facing a wide array of differences that we never expected to see. And they did the best they could. Some things they could have done better, but at least they tried to do the best they could. Some great things that I have seen around here, they've been expanding these college credits. I think it's great that students are ahead, that they have these college opportunities to help them save some money later. There was a couple ones that they said earlier. Another one is the ROTC program. She said it perfectly. These teachers here, I mean, some of them I call my personal friends. They are amazing people. Amazing people who give you a shirt off their back. Whether I see them in the community or at sporting events or whatever, they're always willing to talk, always willing to have a conversation. That speaks volumes. Another thing that I really saw here that I really liked is this new creation a couple years ago of the LV Outdoor Club. Very successful club. Got some kids into all kind of things. They got hunter trapper education. They got how to make salsa. They got a nice greenhouse at the school. So thoughts like that, expanding out, I really like some of that stuff. There's been a lot of good here. There's only a couple things here we got to kind of move forward in a more positive direction, but overall, pretty good school district.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, last but not least, right. Looking at Ligonier Valley School District, the thing that strikes me that they have done right is the potential. They have the ideal classroom size. From my work at Fort Ligonier, I've had the opportunity to work with teachers bringing students down there. And the thing that I've noticed and been so impressed by is the dedication of the teachers and their willingness to support student activity. So I look at this and think, You've got the ideal classroom size for effective learning to take place. You've got a dedicated staff that can take those students. That is the best thing I can ever, the one thing that I see that is really the best thing about being in your school district is that situation there created by its potential through its students and class size and its teachers.
So I would like to close on a more optimistic quote from Mark Twain, I must say. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can be great. And with that being said, I would like to thank you all for coming. I would like to thank you all for watching as well. I would also like to remind you that all candidates were invited to these events last week and this week's. I seriously would like to encourage anybody, if you would like to be a township supervisor, a mayor, a school board member, borough council, district magistrate, whatever your heart desires to do, you are free to do that. And again, thank you for the school board members for running and for following their ambitions and wanting to lead change. And that is it. Thank you.
I just wanted to, it's not turned off the right way.